You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone and welcome to a bonus episode of the Scottish Football Show right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be your host as always. Joined as always by Mark Wilson. Mark, this is going to be a very, very tough weekend for you. How are you coping?
I'm just absolutely delighted to be here for the Rangers Love-In show in celebration of their first ever title tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be absolutely riveting stuff tonight, praising all things Rangers.
Rory Loy's here as well. Rory, how are we doing?
Aye, not too bad. Enjoying the bitterness ripping out of Mr. Wilson. Why not celebrate 10 years in the waiting? I don't see any reason why you wouldn't.
Yeah. Let's start at a place where Wilson won't want to. Let's start at Rugby Park. We will go through all the weekend's games one at a time. We'll start off with Kilmarnock scored 3 goals against St Mirren, but St Mirren were too good and managed to get 3 goals back. Wilson, all but unless Ross County can drop point, can get defeated by Motherwell and Kilmarnock can beat Hamilton, it looks as if Kilmarnock could be playing Dundee in the playoffs. First of all, what was your thoughts on the game? And second question, where would Kilmarnock be without Kyle Lafferty?
Oh, I think your first question's your second question is pretty obvious. If Kyle Lafferty wasn't there, I think Kilmarnock would be sitting where Hamilton Accies are just now, and I think that had probably been done and dusted a few weeks ago. I think 12 goals in 8 games speaks for itself at the time when we.
Is that what it is? 12 and 8.
I think so. It's something like that.
Oh man!
And he's come in and he's the new Kilmarnock hero. Wednesday again, we've scored 6 goals against St Mirren in 2 games and not won any of them.
No.
And you think when you score 3 goals at home, you're maybe looking at a win, and obviously one was the cup, but. It's definitely worrying, the defence. Again, I don't think we've ever got a consistent back four. It was highlighted prior to Tommy Wright even coming in about when Stephen O'Donnell and Greg Taylor both left, how poor we would be in the full-back areas. And even we've made a couple of signings, I think we've actually got worse. I don't think we can get the correct combination at centre-half. I think Stuart Finley's left a big hole as well. Gary Dicker, the captain's not been at the races this season. He's been outstanding the past couple of seasons, I think. And this season he's not been at it. Alan Power doesn't seem himself. But as I said before, Chris Burke at 30 years old is your best player. I don't think all's well at that. I know he's got great experience, but how many seasons can he, keep performing at that level? Then obviously Kyle Lafferty comes in, starts scoring goals, and I think even the likes of he must be getting frustrated with what's going on defensively as well. The issues with the goalkeepers, no disrespect. I don't know either of the goalkeepers, but I remember at the time, somebody told me that Danny Rogers had been at Aberdeen for 10 years and he'd played something like 3 first-team games, and I'm thinking, well, how on earth can he be good enough to be our goalkeeper? But again, I know a lot of my Rangers supporting friends give me a hard time, but under Steve Clarke, Killie fans were ruined. It was a massively successful time. Every player he seemed to go and get, turned out to be excellent. Backman, the goalkeeper, saved us a lot of points as well when he was there. Now he's going to be playing Premiership football in England.
But see, although that was 2 years ago, are you surprised how quickly it's fallen since Steve Clarke left?
Well, yes and no, but I mean, I don't know whether it's external forces or anything, but you could say the same about Celtic. They've went as Dave King famously said, a house of cards. It seems to be a wee bit like that at Kilmarnock. There doesn't seem to be, as you mentioned at the start with Kyle Lafferty. If Kyle Lafferty wasn't there, this would be done and dusted, and we'd be relegated already. That's how it is. Alex Dyer gets a lot of criticism. I think the fans possibly thought initially that he would carry on the good work that Steve Clarke did, etc. And then in between times, we were sitting 5th under Alessio.
Yeah.
And he was sacked, and then things like that. And I think there's a bit of discontent, between the board and the supporters at the moment. Because I think the Alex Dyer thing just went on that bit too long. And it's certainly worrying times. Although, don't get me wrong, and again, these might come back and haunt me, but I have no fear of finishing 11th if that happens, because I'm fully confident Kilmarnock will beat any team in that first division. And to be honest, I include Hearts in that as well. I felt Kelly would have beaten Hearts over 2 games. I don't think, especially with Lafferty, maybe my confidence went up when he signed. There was a fantastic result for Dundee, but and I know Charlie Adam played really well. He was a smashing player. But I mean, I look at the Dundee team and I'm thinking that Osman Sow was at Kilmarnock, and he'd probably make the worst ever Kelly team. You know, he was absolutely horrendous at Kilmarnock, and now he's leading the line for Dundee. So again, I think the worst thing would have been to finish bottom. To be honest, I actually think Motherwell will beat Ross County, and I think we'll beat Hamilton. So I'm actually not that too worried. But even if Ross County get a point or win the game, I think Kilmarnock will be very, very confident of beating Dundee.
Rory, we'll come to you about Kilmarnock as well, but see, just before we touch on Kilmarnock, do you not feel as if St Mirren are similar? Like, creatively going forward, they can be really, really good, but at the back, they'll still get some problems?
Absolutely. It's the same with all these teams. Steve Clarke had Kilmarnock, for example, overachieving massively. And that's not the norm for these clubs. So the likes here, St Mirren's, they're going to have ups and downs. They're going to have bumps in the road. Every so often they'll have a season, possibly when they finish 5th or 6th. But over the piece, St Mirren can't be too disappointed with how they finished. It's one of those ones as well where you look at Callum Davidson just now and you look at Jim Goodwin. If this time next year St Johnstone finish 7th and Jim Goodwin and St Mirren finish 6th by the same margins, it's looked upon as St Mirren, it's progress. They're improving. When they missed out by 2 goals, and you're looking at Callum Davidson going, well, finishing the bottom 6 this year, is that are they regressing and things? So I don't think St Mirren can be too disappointed with the season they've had. They've reached 2 semi-finals. I appreciate they've not made the final in either of these, but I do believe if they can keep the core of their squad together, it'll stand them in good stead for next season if they were to progress to the latter stages of these competitions. And it must be frustrating to go from one week to the next, keeping a clean sheet, then conceding 3 or 4, and then the next week, winning 1-0 and then losing 1-0 the following week. But that's the reality for these clubs. They're so tightly matched. If Kilmarnock played St Mirren every single week, you couldn't pick a winner half the time, regardless of where the game was played, and that goes for your Ross Counties as well. So it must be frustrating from a St Mirren point of view, but I do believe, as much as I find him a little bit frustrating to listen to in the press sometimes, I do believe he's a good manager, Jim Goodwin, and he's got the core of a good side there.
See about Kilmarnock as well, do you kind of go along with Wilson that if it wasn't for Kyle Lafferty, Kilmarnock would probably be down?
I wouldn't go as far to say that they wouldn't be getting into the last game with a fighting chance. I don't think they would be automatically relegated at this stage, but I do absolutely agree with him that they would massively be flirting with finishing 12th if Kyle Lafferty hadn't come in. It's difficult to disagree with that. Wilson's saying there, 12 and 8. I didn't realise it was just as impressive as that. So, that just shows the impact he's had.
Maybe 8 and 12.
Well, even that's a huge impact. Compared to he's probably Kilmarnock's top scorer now.
I would think.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
So look, I do. I've got a big soft spot for Kilmarnock. I always have, and I always will have. So I really hope that they can escape the drop. I wouldn't be quite as confident as Wilson getting into the playoffs. A team that concede a lot of goals. If they were playing against the Hearts, for example, with Liam Boyce up front, I'm not quite sure I would go along with that way of thinking. Against the Dundee, if somebody said, put your mortgage on one of them, it certainly would be Kilmarnock. But Dundee are hitting form at a good time, I tell you that. 3-0 away to Wraith Rovers, who play arguably the best football in that league. So I'm fingers crossed for Kilmarnock. I have a wee sneaky suspicion that Wilson said that I think they might stay up. I've got one of those kind of great escapes on the last day. I think that Motherwell are capable on their day of beating Ross County, even though there's more at stake for Ross County. I think they could sneak a result, Motherwell, and I think Kilmarnock will do the business against Hamilton.
The good thing for us, Scott and Mark, is that if it is a Kelly Dundee playoff, surely Rory's going to be in the BBC studios as a former player for both teams. So that'll be good for us to watch him on the television with Neil McCann possibly.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Is that why he's got that haircut?
Well, he's anticipating it.
Oh, me?
Anticipating that Kelly Dundee game.
Didn't even mention the sunbed, Shankers.
Moonbed, I think.
How are we, Shankers? Pleasure to have you on.
Aye, I'm buzzing for this weekend. I don't know about yous.
Any particular reasons?
Wilson was just praising Rangers, mate. You missed it.
Oh, that'll need to be clipped.
Hey, let's get your thoughts on. We'll go to Shankers here. Ross County 2, Hamilton 1. Hamilton are down unless they beat Kilmarnock 9-0. Do you think Kilmarnock?
I don't know. No, I think Hamilton's been flirting with relegation for a few years, and normally they dig in at this time of the season and manage to survive. But I can't say I'm too surprised to see them go down this year. It was one step too far. It was a final nail in the coffin for them. Ross County needed a win as well to kind of not cement their place, but also almost put it in their hands. So it's up to them what happens now away to Motherwell. So it's going to be all to play for them. It's going to be an exciting last day. I can't believe that. I don't know if you have touched on it, but I can't believe that there's no coverage of any of the games on.
Is that down to they're only allowed one game a week? That was actually one of the questions we asked. Does anyone know why none of the games?
I don't know what it is, but surely at times like this, when there's like real stuff to play for, there can be an exception for stuff like that, because it's not as if you can get fans in the stadium. I know fans have got links they can watch on Command TV, etc. But surely for neutrals, they should stick it on the telly. They've got a broadcast deal with Sky. Surely Sky should be able to broadcast one game, one or two games in the last day, because there's something to play for. But who knows?
Yeah, definitely. We'll touch on the other game. Obviously, in the bottom six split, Dundee United 2, Motherwell 2. It was kind of a dead rubber. There was two teams with nothing to play for. But Dundee United were 2-0 up. Shanklin and Meekison scored his first goal for Dundee United. Long and Cole got them back, and it was a 2-each draw. Nothing really to that. They're just two teams that have solid seasons.
Yeah, fair enough. Although I have kind of noticed, obviously with the Euro squad coming up, that Shanklin scored a couple of goals and had a wee bit of form, as has Nisbet as well. Now, Nisbet will obviously be playing, well, I'd imagine he'll be playing the cup final as well next week. So you just wonder if these guys have maybe got a wee bit of the old end of season contract where you buck up your ideas for 6 or 7 games so you get a new contract. I wonder if, I don't know. I mean, has Steve Clark phoned the likes of they two? I don't know, maybe Eamon Brophy, the likes of these guys, and thought that there's a space, for another striker. And they've upped their game a wee bit. I don't think that should happen, but I'm saying that's maybe why they've upped their game a bit now. And as I say, a big performance from Nisbet in the cup final, could maybe see him sneak into that squad.
Yeah, we'll touch on Hibs and Hibs Aberdeen. Hibs secured third spot, a 1-0 win over Aberdeen. Shankers, Aberdeen haven't scored, went 15 games this season and not scored a goal. How much should Stephen Glass be in the market for a top goal scorer next season?
I think when we touched on it in January when they lost Cosgrove and they went and got the three boys on loan, Canberra, Hendry and Hornby, I think it was. And that just shows you they've went and get 3 players to try and cover the goals that Cosgrove got them. And I don't think he was he was a big lumpy fella in that. He maybe wasn't pretty, but he put the ball in the back of the net. And they've went and get 3 players who Canberra done all right at Rangers, done well at Hibs. Hendry, St Johnstone and Hornby scores a lot of goals for the under 21s. So they've went and get 3 of them in, and they can't replicate the goals. So it is a big gap that they need to fill. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. It's Aberdeen have got a weird way of working. They bring somebody up for a few years and then they sell on, which clubs like that has to do. But he's got a big job in his hands, Stephen Glass. I think maybe now people are appreciating how good a job Derek McInnes done at Aberdeen.
I would agree with that as well. Hibs secure third. Rory, do you have overlooked Hibs this season and how kind of solid?
I called it in the prediction. Hibs third.
Did you?
Yep. Go back, search it if you want. I called it.
There you go.
But did I have them relegated or something? Did I have them doing a bottom 6 playoff or something?
Did you know St Johnstone took it in?
St Johnstone, that's who it was. Hibs second bottom then.
They've come over a leaf since Wilson said that, have we not?
Well, I told you that Callum had phoned me and he used it as motivation for the boys. So good luck to him on Sunday.
Rory, do you think we've kind of overlooked Hibs with kind of how solid they've been this season?
I think they got a lot of plaudits early in the season, and that's when they racked up most of their points. If I'm being brutally honest, I think probably start of February right through till a couple of weeks ago, they've not exactly been great on the eye, but I think the scoreline kind of sums up Aberdeen and Hibs' season. Hibs have done just enough. 1-0. Aberdeen haven't really done enough. As Shankers stays there, like they've brought in these three boys, and it's not really changed much, I think. And it all comes back to possibly the way Derek McInnes, his style of play, which had maybe ran its course, playing with the bigger boys up top. But he is going to be in the market for a top goal scorer, but they're gold dust. They're very difficult to find. You can sign a few centre backs, and over the course and distance, you can be solid enough at centre back without being the best player. But as Shanker says, sticking the ball in the net's no easy. If you've got somebody like Cosgrove, you take the ball bouncing off his shin and off his knees from time to time. If he's sticking it in the net, and I don't really know where Aberdeen go from here. And Shankers is saying there, people are now appreciating how good a job Derek McInnes has done. For me, I'm listening to that comment, and it's not the first time I've heard it. Going, well, that's not just a compliment for McInnes. That's a wee question mark hanging over Stephen Glass already. He's been in the door 8-9 weeks. He's got absolutely pumped in the cup 3-0 off Dundee United, who have since went on and been bang average. They get battered after that. He's been very indifferent in the league, other than getting a draw against Celtic at home. And it goes back to what we were saying when he got appointed. Really, is that the right time to do it? And I think if Stephen Glass could have his time again, he would be sitting in that stand watching the games instead of standing on the touchline, because I think he's starting on the back foot. I really do. Do
you think managers get a free hit because they can just turn around and say, well, it's not my players, I've not got my time to stamp, put their own authority on it? I don't agree with it, because obviously they put their own style of play, they've still got the players, but do you think it as a free hit, almost trial and error kind of type thing, go and do what they want to see what he needs and what he doesn't need kind of thing?
But I think he could control that without being a manager. I don't see any reason why Paul Sheeran couldn't have stayed in charge with, Paul Sheeran knows that Stephen Glass is coming in. The board say to Stephen Glass, or he says to them, look, I want Paul Sheeran to be the focal point of the management team till the end of the season, but really we're going to work under, and I'm sure Paul Sheeran would have went along with that as well. That's an opportunity for him. And, that would have given Stephen Glass the same way of, tinkering with things and trying things without actually being under that pressure. Now, of course, maybe Stephen Glass has backed himself and went, no, I can come in here and make a difference, and credit to him if he did think that way, but he hasn't. So,
Paul Sheeran, is he still there?
Yeah, he's there as a first-team coach. Do you know how though he's kind of, you've got to, obviously he's going to have a summer to build, but he started well with kind of recruitment. He was obviously brought in Brown as our number 2, who's going to be a massive presence on and off the park. Declan Gallagher could be a good bit of business as well.
Oh, I forgot that. Aye,
so
definitely.
I think there's a goal scorer badly needed there. Well,
I still think if Stephen Glass, say the first fixture of next season, they get beat 2-0. I think if it's Stephen Glass's first game in charge, the fans will look at it and go, right, I'm not happy with that, but the guy needs time. See if they get beat 2-0 the first game of the season. I don't know how long he'll get. I really don't.
Yeah,
before the tide turn.
I'm in total agreement with Rory. Now, again, the signing of Scott Brown if he is going to play is bizarre in the latest. I mean, I think we've said on here that he looked finished at the start of the season, probably even especially kind of Christmas time. He looked as if his legs had gone. Now, that's an interesting one for me. What else is interesting is the Alan Russell appointment as well. Now, again, it's probably somebody can trust. Now, I think possibly one of the easiest jobs in the world. I know he's not in the job anymore, but the easiest job in the world must be a striker coach for England. Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling, these guys. I mean, what does he do all day with these guys? Because these guys don't need a coach.
But do you know how that's another
how's he going to fare with, no disrespect to these guys, I'm sure they're talented, how's he going to fare with Curtis Main? And
didn't he walk into that job, though, Wilson? He didn't just turn up at England's training ground one day and was England coach. He's worked up to that and worked with these lesser players before. He didn't just turn up at George's Park and walk in.
Did you know how that could be another wee thing?
So did he start with Harry Kane when he was 9 years old and progress him through? He's working with world-class strikers. How hard can that job be? I'm saying, is he going to be on the training ground putting 500 boys into Curtis Main who can't control one of them, whereas Harry Kane scored 499 goals probably?
The problem I've got is how is he left it, bro? How is he? A better option.
There's something today that I think something through the day.
There's a personal circumstance left England that's nothing to do with his ability, and I'm not necessarily questioning his ability, but from going from coaching Sterling and Kane to Fraser Hornby and Curtis Main. I mean, this guy must be some sort of genius if he can get these guys involved. Do you know what I mean?
I take your point, definitely, but like I said, he's got to have some degree of experience with working with lesser players. He's not just turned up at St George's Park and started working with Harry Kane, and then he's taken, they dropped down to Aberdeen.
Wait, they'll find out. I mean, I think he was in the States with Stephen Glass, and maybe it's just an ally he can trust, etc. And that's acceptable, and obviously the personal circumstances, he's not with England anymore, is obviously disappointing up to the Euros, but again, and maybe it's just me being old-fashioned, and I've repeated this on here loads of times, again, if I'm Stephen Glass and a younger manager, I think there needs to be some sort of experience beside him, or some sort of presence there, because I don't believe, Stephen Glass personally, I mean, he might be, a right cracking guy and a right cracking coach, cracking manager, great, but I just always feel there needs to be some sort of experience in a dugout, because Brown has no experience. And yes, Alan Russell's worked with Southgate and maybe another England manager, but
as a manager,
I don't see that. I can't see the balance possibly.
Craig Brown to be director of football by November.
Again, it could be something like that, but
cracking.
I'm with you, Rory. I think Stephen Glass could be well under pressure in the first 5 or 6 games of the season.
He's going to be reunited with Scott Brown. Obviously, Scott Brown played his last game at Parkhead on Wednesday night against St Johnstone. A really comfortable one for Celtic. We'll give Wilson the floor here because I know he's been desperate to get a wee piece out about Scott Brown.
Chewing his cup there. He's chewing his cup.
That's how I couldn't believe that he said Brown's appointment was bizarre. I was like, somebody have his phone for the last week?
No, and as I've said on here before, like you could see from the cup final when Naismith was giving him the run around, his legs had gone. He'd lost 3 yards of pace, never mind 1. But it's the disrespect.
Rewind 10 years and Naismith was giving him the run around, Wilson.
I mean, Naismith was 10 years younger as well. What I'm saying is that cup final, I think, highlighted, how much he'd lost in his game. And he's still a guy that's won trebles against the likes of the brilliant Steve Davis and the brilliant, Joe Aribo and all these guys. He dominated them all of last season, but it's the disrespect he's showing for his achievements.
Do you know Davis has played against Brown? I looked this up, right? Davis has played against Brown since he re-signed for Celtic in 8 matches, right? 24 points up.
For Rangers.
Since Davis re-signed for Rangers, 24 points up for grabs. Davis is 1-6, drawn 1, lost 1.
Right. So what about Davis's first spell?
So he has dominated them.
What, in his first spell as well?
And no, I'm talking about since he re-signed. You're talking about dominating last season.
Right. Okay, but Brown was there in Davis's first spell and won trophy after trophy. So I don't really get that argument. Now I'm not saying Scott Brown's better than Steve Davis. I'm showing the disrespect that a lot of the media have shown for what he's achieved. Now, you may think he's a bang average player, but see, at the end of the day, he's got loads of caps, won loads of trophies, and he's dominated better Rangers teams. And the Rangers fans on Twitter are giving it, he played against Holt and Halliday. No, he didn't. He played against much better players as well and dominated them as well in spells. So, the disrespect you guys have shown Scott Brown for what he's achieved is nothing short of embarrassing.
Before got demoted, show me any point in time where Scott Brown dominated Rangers. Not a specific game, dominated Rangers over a period of time. It didn't happen.
I think by dominated, he means Celtic were winning and he was laughing in folks' faces.
Treble with Rangers in the Premier League?
No. What I'm saying is, before he re-signed. So go back to when Davis was first there. Brown dominated Scottish football when Rangers got demoted. That's what he did.
He dominated before and after.
Before they got demoted?
Aye, before and after.
How did he dominate before they got demoted?
Well, how many titles did they win?
What do you mean?
Well, how many leagues, before Rangers were demoted, how many leagues did Scott Brown win at Celtic?
Well, I was there. I know Shankers is going to have a go at me with you at Rangers and all this, but when I was there, right, for the 5 years...
Shankers, that name he's dropped there.
I left Rangers, right, in the January of 2000 and whatever it was, right, and I was there. Davis was there. I was there for 5 years, and I think Rangers won the league 3 times, maybe 4. But the time they didn't win it, they got to a European final.
What an achievement! Did they win that European final?
That's no relevant to the point you're making. But
wow.
Show me the point.
You're betting on the past, but you've been on all month actually about how bad Scott Brown is, but you can't recognise his achievements.
I can't recognise him
for a fellow pro not to be able to give congratulations to a guy that has dominated Scottish football for the last 10 seasons is nothing short of embarrassing.
So you're picking and choosing what I wrote in those messages massively. What I said was you've got to recognise the trophies he's won and the medals he's got. He would not have had that success had Rangers not been relegated to the 3rd division. At no point in time with Rangers and Celtic in the top league has any team ever done a quadruple treble, okay? Now, the reason that they've been that successful and they've won that many medals, in my opinion, is because Rangers won in the league.
Rangers have been in the Premier League for 4 years and Celtic have won a quadruple treble.
What? So the quadruple treble was done the full-time Rangers when they're in the league?
But Rangers have been in the league the last 4 years, aye.
Aye, they were. It was.
Apology accepted.
No. The point I'm making is that Rangers got demoted in the first 2 or 3 years in the Premier League. They've got a team that can't compete with Celtic, is the point I'm making.
All right, so that's
your Hallidays, your Holts, etc. It's no Scott Brown's fault. Scott Brown is in a Celtic team in an era which is perfect for him. Fantastic leader, fantastic leader of men, and obviously everybody likes him. He's a good captain. He's not the best technical player, in my opinion, and that's been proven, right, before Rangers got put to the 3rd division and after they've built a team which is capable of competing with Celtic.
Well, I don't think you play 500 games for Celtic, you're a bad player.
I didn't say he was a bad player.
Really don't.
I didn't say he was a bad player. I said you can recognise his medals, okay, but still have the point of view that he wouldn't have had as many trophies if Rangers had not been demoted. That's just my opinion.
Well, that's like saying Rangers would have won the UEFA Cup if it hadn't been for Zenit St. Petersburg beating them. It's a nonsense argument.
It's not a nonsense argument.
Just to like go to a fight.
It's not God should be your uncle. It's bizarre. It's not Scott Brown's fault. The Rangers cheated, get demoted, didn't have the money because the fans wouldn't save them, and that's Scott Brown's fault.
So you need to listen. You need to actually listen. You need to actually listen to what I'm saying. I'm not diminishing his achievements. He's won all the medals, right? But it's much more difficult to do it with a full-strength Rangers side in the league over 10 years. Would you agree with that?
But what is a
I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Do you think it's more?
What is a full-strength Rangers side? The side they have just now that's failed in the last 2 seasons as well.
Right, okay. Exactly. Right, so they failed the last 2 seasons and they've come good this season. Right?
So he said one
can I finish your sentence? Can I finish your sentence?
One bad season in 10 and he's rubbish, right? Okay.
Wow. When did I say he was rubbish? On here.
Wow.
When did I say he was rubbish?
You've been on the chat all week saying he's absolutely terrible, he's shite, Brown shite. Do you want me to show him?
Go for it. Show them your messages as well.
That's right, I'll show them my messages, but I'm not saying Scott Brown shite. That's
right. Well, show them the messages then. And I'm not wishing cruciate ligament damage injuries on Celtic players.
Well, don't show the messages. The channel got shut down.
Exactly. You're shitting pants to show the messages.
Right?
Absolutely not.
The whole point in case is exactly what you said there. Celtic won 2 leagues in a row, and then Rangers came good and won a league. See, if Rangers were in the league, Celtic might have won 2 leagues in a row, but see, at the end of the day, they're not going to win 10 because Rangers, at that full-strength team, at some point are going to beat Celtic. And that's the point I'm making. Brown might have won 10, 11 trophies. He's not going to win 22 with a full-strength Rangers side in the league. He's just not. I'm not diminishing what...
How do you know that?
I'm not, because it's never been done. And he didn't do it beforehand either. It was Rangers that were winning leagues before they went down the leagues, right? And I'm not saying...
It has been done now. So
I'm not saying it's Scott Brown's fault. He, as a leader, has went in and won 22 medals. But what I'm saying is that it's much more difficult to do with a full-strength Rangers side in the league. And over the course of a 10-year period with Rangers in the league for that decade, Scott Brown is not walking away with 9 league titles.
Well, Steve Davis isn't walking away with 9 league titles with a full-strength Celtic team.
That's not relevant to what I'm saying. What's that got to do with it?
It's exactly the same as what you're saying.
Right, okay. Rewind 9 years, right, and put Celtic down at the bottom of the league and keep the Rangers side that was currently present when Rangers got put down. They would have won 9 in a row.
But their players left. Their players left because it wasn't the same club and went for big money.
Right.
Yet some are good and some are heralded as saviors.
You don't answer the point that's been made.
It's exactly this. You're not making any point, Rory.
So the point I'm making is, right, that if Rangers were in a full strength Rangers side were in the league, let me ask you it this way. See if Rangers current team, right, were in the league at the moment, and Scott Brown was 21, would you fancy him to win nine league medals with this Rangers side in the league?
100%.
Right, okay.
Because Davis is what?
No worries. Just move on. I'm happy with that.
38, Ryan Jackson Croc, and well,
just move on. I'm happy with that.
Run amok against that midfield. Absolutely.
Just move on. That proves my point.
21 years old against a 38-year-old. Fancy my chances, definitely.
Good argument.
Right, Scott Brown. Right.
You're the one that doesn't know your facts, saying that a quadruple treble wasn't done when Rangers were in the league, but yet they were in the league.
No.
Now you're making excuses for the best players of Scott Brown's fault.
Right, and you don't know your facts either by saying Scott Brown dominated Scottish football before Rangers got demoted. Nonsense. Right. What I said was,
if we count the last 10 years.
What I said was,
that is dominating.
Rangers haven't been in the league.
As the captain of the team, 65 Scotland caps, that is dominating Scottish football for 10 years.
You said
100% that's dominating Scottish football. You will not be a better midfielder in the last 10 years than Scott Brown.
You said before they got demoted. Before. That's what you said. You didn't say during the last 10 years.
In the last 10 years,
No, you never said that. Rewind the tape. You said before and after. It was a point about Naismith. He was dominating back then.
The point was about Davis before and after. You gave stats that Steve Davis has won 6 out of the last 8 Old Firm games since he came back from Southampton. And I asked for the numbers before he left Rangers the first time, what the stats were against Scott Brown.
Yes.
That's what I said before and after.
Exactly.
What I said was that Naismith
and you said he dominated.
Given Scott Brown the run around at hand.
And you said he dominated.
Scott Brown looked done.
And you said he dominated.
That's why I didn't think Aberdeen should have signed them.
Talking over me. I can't get. You said before.
You asked me a question. Answered the question. You
never answered the question.
Time, so
you never answered the question.
You're wrong. And you can admit you're wrong, Rodney. No one feels bad for you. You're wrong. It doesn't matter.
You never answered the question. It's cool. It's fine. In terms of the last 4 years, right? The Rangers team, when they first got promoted, was not a competitive Rangers side. That was my point. Not that they weren't necessarily in the league, okay? So I made a mistake when I said that, fair enough, right? What I'm saying is it wasn't the same Rangers side. You made the point that before, when Davis was there the first time at Rangers, Scott Brown was dominating. No, he wasn't.
Right. In your opinion?
No. You want to go with facts? Look at the medals from before Rangers got demoted.
So how long ago did Davis leave Rangers? Was it 2012 he left?
Yeah.
Right, so in the last 10 years, Scott Brown's won 9 league titles.
You did? Before the last 10 years.
Interesting that, very interesting.
Let's move on to
Vernie's been there 4 seasons, watched a quadruple treble, but it's different because he's using the Rangers team.
Let's move on to the Celtic game. Celtic won 4-0. We'll touch on Scott Brown later on in the show in a different way. We'll touch on Scott Brown later on in the show, obviously, because there's one more game left. But we'll give this to Wilson. Wilson, obviously, Celtic brought in the likes of Dembele, Montgomery. Do you think there's one eye in next season there?
I probably think it's a numbers game now. They're just trying to see who's going to be kept on and who's going to get the push. They'll be looking at the younger players because it appears that a lot of the senior players will be leaving, whether they're released or bought by another club. Now I know the boy Dembele's been there a few years now. Not played many first team games. So again, I always find it's very hard for young players at Celtic and Rangers because what will happen is if someone comes in and plays Dembele's position that's maybe 24, 25, they're going to sign him, play him before him. So he finds it hard again to try and get into the team. As I say, I think it's just a kind of courtesy thing, to be honest, to give guys a run out. It might be their contracts running out and let them play a first team game for Celtic in a kind of meaningless game, so to speak. But so as I say, massive changes required, and I think will be at Celtic. The boy Dembele, again, I think he shows wee flashes and things, whether Don't know his perfect position because he's only maybe played 2 or 3 games. But if he's one for the future, then why not stick him in these games? I know they've only got 1 left now, but should have come in after they lost the league and maybe played 5 or 6, 7 games in a row to see how he does. And even if he's good enough, somebody may buy him, or if he's good enough, keep him in the first team.
What age is that boy Dembele?
I think he's only 18 now.
He's only 18 now.
18 for me. If you're 18, is that age where you really, if you're no pushing like Mikey Johnson, people like that, can Dembele be pushing for him to put him at the team? If you're 18 and you're
He's been around forever as well, didn't he?
What is it?
He's been around forever. Like you'd think, like you're
I
saying,
know, that's what I thought he was actually older than 18. But if you're 18, you need to be at the teams. If you're running about the first team, you really need to be pushing for a place or away.
If he was 15 in 300 days or something.
Well, it's already coming on at an end of season game. You know what I mean? It needs to be in that Celtic team this season where they've no done well, and he's still no knocking on the door to get a game. You know what I mean? Does that say something?
To a certain extent, you can say the same about Patterson as well. I mean, he appears very good in the 5 or 6 games he's played, but Tavernier is always going to play.
I know.
Especially after the season he's had, and rightly so. So that's where that boy will find it hard. I mean, I dare say if Rangers maybe offered a few million for Tavernier now, they might be thinking, well, do we cash in just now? He's won the league. He's been here 4 seasons, and we've got Patterson. Because I can't see Patterson possibly now being particularly happy to spend a season on the bench.
Just thinking that there as you were saying that, Wilson, can you imagine a tasty bid come in for Patterson and Tavernier? Who do you think they're selling? See if it was, Patterson, whatever it may be, 10, 12 million, Tavernier 4 or 5 million, value for money. Who do you think they would part ways with?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think a bid of that for Patterson would be, because I say he has only played a limited number of games.
But you're buying potential.
I think if Tavernier, you were offered 4 or 5 for Tavernier, then I think he would go. I think they would sell him. Because I think the potential, again, I know it's a great word to use with these guys, but potentially Patterson, I mean, he does look the part. Every time I've seen him, I've been impressed. Could he be a good season like Tavernier's? I know he does penalties, free kicks, etc. But if he is a worldly season, then he'd be looking maybe at 10 plus.
Generally, there's
and especially if he gets in the Euro.
It seems. I'm not saying he's better defensively than Tav, but Tav's assets are going forward, whereas Patterson looks as if he's kind of solid at the back as well. He's just maybe
like he's got it all, Shankers.
What?
Looks like he's got it all,
General's a way they could play both, like maybe fit both into the team maybe next season.
No chance. It's like Tierney and Robertson for Scotland. It's impossible, really, isn't it?
To the detriment of the team, for sure.
You're getting somebody's full potential. You're not quite getting somebody else's full potential, and then it kind of makes him look bad. So it's some task Gerrard's got in his hands, but you'd rather have that than you'd rather have two first choice right backs and
they'll start going in. Is it kind of late July? They start with the Champions League qualifier, so they'll need 2 players in each position as such.
Well, that's what I wanted to bring up there. You mentioned the Champions League. Like, obviously, we're expecting Eddie Howe to be appointed. I think that's pretty much done now.
I was waiting on it, but announced today, because you gave us that exclusive.
I was told that today, so
another exclusive.
How big a job does he have in the summer to get the team ready for the Champions League, Rory?
A massive job. I mean, you've only got to look at the loan signing Celtic's got that are going to be leaving. Obviously, your captain for the last 10 years is leaving. You've got boys who possibly aren't up to the task as well. You'll be recruiting a new goalkeeper. It's a huge job, absolutely massive. So it's going to be an interesting one. Like I've always said on the show, I think he's very tactically astute, but he's, again, like Wilson's touched on it before, it's a whole different ballgame. He's managed Bournemouth, he's not managed in Europe before. So to come in with the expectations on, Neil Lennon, after that Ferencváros game, Neil Lennon knew the impact that would have with the supporters, the revenue, etc. Eddie Howe might come in thinking, right, let's get a hit at the Champions League. It's not a hit when you're at Celtic, it's we need to qualify. And see if you don't qualify, the house comes tumbling down. So he's got a lot of work to do. and it's not about performances, it's about qualifying. He'll not get away with playing nice football and no qualifying, so it'll be an interesting one, but he has got a lot of work to do, and I think it's going to be a very busy and interesting summer at Celtic Park. I think they'll get most of the attention with the media and with their signings, etc., which probably leaves it quite nicely for other teams just to go about their business. But I as much as obviously it would be an honour to have Celtic manager's job, I don't envy the guy. I think he's got a massive job in his hands, and I don't know if he'll fully realise what he's walking into. You can talk to as many people as you want, but until you're actually in it.
See, I think I've got the only thing, Eddie Howe, I think it is the right appointment and probably the one that. But see, how can you convince a guy that's out of a job to how has it took them so long to appoint him? Why has it took this long to? It's not as if they're having to settle compensation fees or anything. Why has it took so long to convince Eddie Howe to come to Celtic? If a manager, he's not exactly set the world alight with his managerial performances before, so why has it took so long for if I'm in Eddie Howe's shoes and a team like Celtic come to me, you shouldn't take this long for the decision to be made.
How do you think the fans will feel as well? The fans won't be enjoying that. I wouldn't enjoy that if I was a fan of a club and a manager was taking 4 months to decide.
I think it's that long now that they just want somebody appointed.
I think that's it as well. Yeah,
I just don't get why it's taken so long to convince a manager that's not in a job to take the job, and it's been quite clear that he is the man that they've been after for all this while. It's not as if there's 3 or 4 in the run, and it's been his name for the get go.
There's been big talk as well that Jason Tindall, his long-time assistant at Bournemouth, isn't coming with him, which would be, it's a weird one, isn't it, Wilson? Because obviously, if you're Eddie Howe, you want some kind of content, you want kind of continuity, you want somebody that's been there with you through the whole kind of Bournemouth run. Do you think that's a kind of worry for Eddie Howe that he's not getting his long-term assistant to come with him?
I think it's, I don't know how many times I've got to say in this show, I don't think he's the right man. If he's not getting his assistant, he'd possibly, his record at Bournemouth, he says he's got a strong team, etc., etc. But just on the point we said there about how long it's taken Eddie Howe, has Eddie Howe done the opposite of what Stephen Glass has done and thought, I'm not being part of this shambles?
Well,
Rory says he respected Stephen Glass for going in and saying, right, I need to start this early as I can, try and get more authority on it, not leave Paul Shearer in charge, etc. Whereas Eddie Howe went, looked at the season, off the field and on the field, looked at some of those players and went, nothing to do with me, mate. I'll come in.
Maybe want to do it for afar, do you know what I mean? Aye, I get that.
And again, and some of the, and going back to what you were talking about earlier, I genuinely don't think now, I hope they phone in or they text you in something different, but I genuinely don't think any Celtic fan will be expecting anything to qualify for the Champions League this year. Because Celtic are so far behind in terms of the recruitment that needs done, and we don't know the style of player, whatever, but I think Celtic just need to cement themselves as one of the top 2 teams in Scottish football next season and forget about European football, to be honest. I mean, I know it's sometimes, Brendan Rodgers lost against Lincoln Red Imps in his first game and whatnot, but I don't even think Eddie Howe's thinking, let's try and make a dent in the Champions League this year, because I don't think there's very many players, even if he stuck with the same squad, that would beat Lincoln Red Imps this year or this summer. So I don't think that's the case. Going back to his staff, if this is just another appointment, but please keep Kennedy and Strachan, then, and as I said on the chat, and Rory can show these if he wants. We can
it was you that offered to show messages, not me.
It can be 56, 57, 58 till Celtic get the right appointment and do what Steven Gerrard did, and bring in people you trust, your own team, and go from there.
See, to be honest, see what the thing about Eddie Howe's assistant, when you say Jenkins, I worry that he's not going. I think it's the opposite. Why would you want a guy in your team that's ready to take your job once you're put out the door? You know what I mean?
But it's a different, as you say though, it's a different ballgame for Eddie Howe coming from Bournemouth. That
actually crossed my mind earlier, because I was thinking if I was Stephen Glass bringing Scott Brown in, I'm thinking, where's my money going to be on the next Celtic and the next Aberdeen manager?
I know.
Yeah, I definitely can't see Scott Brown managing Aberdeen, to be honest.
Do you know? I think right. We'll move on to the last game, and then we'll touch on our predictions. But Rangers obviously got 3-0 win away to Livingston. Shankers, it was a really good performance. Obviously, the injuries at the back have kind of played a part in kind of likes of Joe Aribo going to left back. But again, it was another good performance.
I think it was one of the ones that just kind of sums up the season. Very steady, free-flowing football. Players accommodating each other in different positions. The manager spoke very highly of Joe Aribo, accommodating at left back. I think he's one of the players that can fill in anywhere and do a job. That's how I think he filled in at left back in one of the European games. It was either this year or last season, and he done really well. But I think it was just a performance that epitomised the season. It was very, very good.
Rory, Rangers are closing in on 100 points. Obviously, tomorrow they play Aberdeen. How kind of big an achievement is that to get the 100 points if they win tomorrow?
It's one of these ones. It's nice. It's not going to be the focus up until probably the Livingston game or once they were out the Scottish Cup. I think they would maybe look at it and go, right, what can keep us motivated now? Unbeaten season, 100 points. So it's a nice wee cherry on top of the cake. But listen, I think now that they're at this stage, they'll be bitterly disappointed if they weren't to win the game or if they were to lose the game tomorrow. Not getting 100 points and not going unbeaten. But at the same time, I think it will be nice. I don't see them getting beat and I don't see them dropping points, to be honest. But I think it'll be. I think the Rangers will run over the top of Aberdeen, if I'm being totally honest. I don't think Aberdeen will fancy it tomorrow.
I found out the highest points total. I don't know if any of you looked. Did you want to guess?
106, Brendan.
106, Brendan Rodgers.
He's already spoken about that. Oh, man.
Wilson, who will you be doing tomorrow at 12 o'clock?
I'll probably support Aberdeen. That's where I've got the red T-shirt on.
Alison's laughing.
To be honest, I'll be doing all I can. So
Brown on the back.
Brownie.
How did you guess? I will get one of them for the new season. Don't worry about that. No, again, I just don't. Even after, and I keep going back to that Old Firm game in October, I didn't see any team being able to beat Rangers, and I didn't think Rangers were particularly absolutely outstandingly brilliant. Just thought, as you say, as Shankar said, I think they went to some games, ripped teams to shreds, played really good football. Then other games they just ground out a 1-0, being professional. I think, as I say, it would be harsh for them not to be go through the season undefeated. And as I say, I agree with Rory. I don't think any of them care about the 100 points. I think the invincibility aspect to the season or to the league season is what they'll be looking for now. And it's against Aberdeen, so there's always that wee motivation when Rangers play them anyway. But I agree. I think Rangers will steamroll them tomorrow comfortably and put an end to the season.
Right, well, we've got 6. Obviously, the season's up. The season finishes this weekend. We'll go for, obviously, Saturday, the first 3 games are Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs, Celtic, St Johnstone, Livingston. We'll just get down the floor. Predictions for those 3 games. Wilson, we'll go to you first. Give us your predictions for those 3 games.
Rangers to win 4-0. Celtic to win 5-0. And who's the other game?
St Johnstone, Livingston.
Well, see, I wonder. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not being critical of Hibs there. I just feel Hibs are now cemented third. They'll be resting players for next week. I think a lot of the big hitters won't play. Maybe Samson maybe get a game on goals or something to save the goalie. So I think Celtic Amiens will win comfortably. St Johnstone, again, I know they're quite short of players. There's been a bit of a kind of illness issue there as well. So I don't know whether they've just got to play who they have, or will they be able to save players, or are guys going to be trying to play their way into the team for the cup final? I don't know their depth of their squad, but Livingston are garbage, to be fair, anyway. So I'll go St Johnstone 2-1.
Rory, what's your prediction for the 3 games this Saturday?
Rangers to win 3-0. I think that I just can't see anything but a comfortable Rangers win. I think that Celtic will win. I think Celtic will win 3-1 away to Hibs. Kind of agree with Wilson there. I think Hibs will have one eye on the final. I don't think they'll win as comfortably as 5-0. And I think that they will concede, so I'll go with 3-1. And I think kind of the opposite to Wilson there. Either will be kind of cup places up for grabs for St Johnstone, but I do feel like the majority of those players will know the starting lineup for the following week, and it'll be a case of avoiding injury as opposed to actually trying to impress. And I think Livingston will win 1-0.
Shankers, what we got?
I agree with Rory. I think Rangers will win 3-0. I think it'll be comfortable. Celtic think they'll win as well. I agree all the points about Hibs and St Johnstone. They can't possibly. I know it's so cliche for the manager to say, one game at a time and all that crap, but when there's a cup final up for grabs, these teams don't get there year in, year out. One eye will 100% win the final. So I fancy Celtic and Livingston both to win 2-0.
Brilliant. Bottom six on Sunday, Hamilton, Kelly, Wilson. Kilmarnock win, is that? Do you think Kilmarnock will win?
Yeah, I do. I think they'll win 2-0, 3-1. I think they'll win by a couple of goals. I think, and it's to be fair, I do feel sorry for Hamilton a wee bit. I would rather it was Ross County because it's so far away to travel. But again, I've never been in the situation. I don't know if Rory has or not been relegated. Have you, Rory?
Not.
That's a genuine question.
I thought that was a known dig there.
No, honestly, I genuinely don't.
No, I've not, to be fair. It came very close, but...
No. Yeah. Well, that's something you did come very... Was it St Mirren you came very close with?
Twice. So St Mirren... well, kind of twice. I was part of the St Mirren team that... the team that beat Celtic 4-0, Tony Mowbray gets sacked the next day. I was part of that squad. Didn't play much. I'll be honest with you, I didn't play much at all. But they were down there for a spell. It's no nice.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So think of the elation that you felt at staying up. Hamilton must be pretty devastated that they're down. So are they going to be very flat? They've played up at Ross County. They travelled back. They've been relegated. Are they flat and just want the season over now? Which it is. So that's why I fancy Kilmarnock strong. And again, Lafferty will be the difference. I have no qualms about that. Lafferty or Buck possibly. The other game I do fancy Motherwell to beat Ross County. I think Ross County will be looking at their result more than their own, to be honest. And what's the other one? St Mirren?
St Mirren and United.
2 each.
Rory,
I actually think there'll be the same amount of fans at that game than what there would be if there was a crowd. That's how much it means.
Rory, what's your thoughts for the bottom six, the final 3 games of the season?
So I kind of said earlier that maybe it's my heart speaking rather than my head that Kilmarnock would hopefully stay up, but I do think they'll win. I agree with what Wilson says. I think as well, if you've got a squad of experienced pros who've just been relegated, maybe you're looking around going, right, they turned up on the Saturday. They've got a lot of young kids there who they've just been relegated. The manager as well looked, as you would, I suppose, but he looked defeated after the game the other night. So I think Kilmarnock will win. I would go with 3-1 Kilmarnock. And I think Ross County will beat. I think Motherwell will win 2-1. I think it'll be tight. 1 each going into the last 10 minutes, possibly one of those ones. So 3-1 Kilmarnock, 2-1 Motherwell, and St Mirren United. I'd probably be goals in it. I'll go 1 each.
Brilliant. Shankers, what we got for the final weekend of the season?
I'm going. I think, see, with Ross County getting into Motherwell, I think if they, it's a tricky one. See, if you know there's a point, you can never have a play for a point. It's impossible, right? But see, if you know all you need is a point or a win to stay up, there can't be any more motivation than that to go and win the game. So I fancy Ross County to go and win. Motherwell will get, I know you go and play a game, it's a dead rubber one for them, but I honestly fancy Ross County to go and win it. I think Kilmarnock will win as well, but I think Ross County will do enough to...
Gets to 60, 70 minutes though, Shankers, and it's nothing each.
Aye, your arses
you think you're winning. You think you're winning and you drop 10, 15 yards.
Aye, I know, they get deeper and deeper, aye, definitely. But I do think both teams will win. Ross County and Kilmarnock will both win. The other game, 0-0. Could bet your house on it.
Definitely. That's for predictions. We've got a couple of fan questions as well. This is one I want to touch on with Wilson because he tweeted about it earlier. Thoughts on Aaron Hickey and Kevin Nisbet possibly being linked with Celtic?
again, I'm not doubting these young guys aren't good players, and you know, Celtic have signed a lot of young players from.
Really? You're not doubting it? Do you want to get that chat up again, mate? Chat works well for you when it works for you, doesn't it?
Oh no, what I'm saying is I'm not doubting them.
What, mate, are we quoting you?
But are they Celtic class? Absolutely not.
Wasn't as politically put in the chat? Let's put it that way.
I just think Celtic need better. Now, as I say, these guys might become better, but we don't know that. But I think Celtic need to be putting their stall out and getting a few marquee signings in, rather than the likes of Kevin Nisbet and Aaron. As I say, no disrespect to them, but I don't think that's what Celtic need. I actually think Celtic maybe need a couple of experienced players in the door to replace the likes of Brown. They're obviously going to have to go and find a striker to try and replace Edward, I would imagine. You could argue they need a back four as well, and I think they maybe need to try and go for a wee bit more experienced than Hickey and Nisbet, to be honest.
I can understand Kevin Nisbet. It's Aaron Hickey that's the weird one with me, because I'm not down at Aaron Hickey's ability, but he's obviously went to Italy. He's not played an awful lot, and he's been kind of £4 million he's offered. Do you not think like Josh Dodge, who's a similar age at Hibs, could be a cheaper alternative and maybe a better alternative?
Well, not in Greg Taylor, no chance. Absolutely no chance. But I agree.
Do you have faith in Greg Taylor, though, that Greg Taylor could be a proper left back for Celtic going forward? Do you think he's going to get the chance?
I think in the SPL and the Scottish games, I don't necessarily think Greg would be Celtic's best left back, you know, if they were getting into the Champions League. But see, I think that's a distant dream. So I would imagine Greg Taylor being a left back next season consistently.
Rory, what do you think of possibly Nisbet and Hickey at Celtic?
I'll be honest, I don't know much about the boy Hickey. If you've just told me that he's not played much over in Italy, whether they can get him on the cheap and just kind of take a wee chance on him to be backup. I don't see the likes of Hickey and Taylor being their two left backs. I think if they have both of them at the club, you're going to need somebody else.
As a Geary.
I like the boy Nisbet, I have to say, and the reason I say that is because as a striker, you often get shunted out to the left or out to the right when it's not going particularly well, and things like that. And I've been shunted out to the left before in terms of a 4-3-3, and I felt out of place. You know, taking the ball in my own half, that wasn't my game. I wasn't comfortable enough in possession and deep in my own half. I've watched Nisbet get moved there a couple of times under Jack Ross, and I know how difficult that is as a striker. He takes the ball in tight areas. He doesn't lose it much. We ones round the corner, keeping the ball in his own half, under pressure. I do agree with Wilson. I don't think it's a marquee sign. It's not going to get ones that Celtic fans are going to get after seats and be absolutely delighted about. But I have a wee sneaky suspicion that if he was to go there, he would surprise people.
I think it'd be a good signing for Celtic.
Well, the way I'm looking at it at the moment, and we don't know what's going to happen, but you're looking Dembele to Edward to Nisbet.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you.
Dembele and Edward are at the moment 100 times the player.
Yep. No, 100%, I agree with that, definitely. I don't think Celtic fans would be queuing up at the door to get season tickets because they've signed Kevin Nisbet. I just think that if he was to go there, I think he would surprise a few people. No in terms of being as good as Edward, that's not what I mean. I just think he would be better than a lot of people may suspect. I think he's a good footballer.
Do you think, though, as well, that he could maybe, if he goes there, it could maybe be like him and Ayeti? Like, if Ayeti, obviously we've seen Ayeti could be part of a two. Right?
Yeah, but him and Shankland. Ayeti.
There's a lot of...
I think these guys will be cleared out. I really
I don't think Ayeti will, because Ayeti's been signed. I think Ayeti's been signed with the kind of thought that he's maybe going to replace Edward. But I think I do think that was a plan. I do think that was a plan.
They shouldn't even be mentioned in the same breath.
No, I mean on this year's form.
Yeah, on this show.
And it's possibly arguments like that behind the scenes that are stopping Eddie Howe coming in, as Wilson saying earlier.
Possibly, yeah.
So if Celtic, and it might be as simple as I don't want to be part of this, but if they're turning around and saying, well, we want you to come in, but Ayeti's going to be one of your top 2 or 3 strikers, he's maybe looking at that as Wilson saying, "Gone, no, he's not." So that's maybe
that's what I mean. Like that's
bits like that, aye.
That's what I mean. Like, do you think? Because obviously the thing I obviously showed you as well is he's been told about, Eddie Howe's been told about these targets. Eddie Howe's not specifically saying, I want these players. He's been told, like, these are the players you could be going to get. Like,
is the recruitment guy still at Celtic?
Oh, he's at the Eve Hall.
Nah, Nicky Hammond. I think he's actually a consultant at Leicester now, I think, which is no surprise.
Oh, well, they'll be getting relegated next year.
See Celtic, Eddie Howe, sorry, has been told, and somebody at Celtic's identified them as targets. Who is this person?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what kind of goes back to maybe the start of last season, because Neil Lennon was making it clear behind the scenes that these weren't his players he was signing. So is anything going to change under Eddie Howe if that's still the case?
No, but again, I think, you know, over the last, you know, decade or whatever, I think Law's had a big say, you know, and as much as maybe people like or dislike Peter Law did a very good job.
Oh no, I totally agree. Like we said before,
and I think he has. When you've seen him, apart from the Dubai apology, I think you've seen him in the press and at AGMs and that. You know, you think that he's a guy I wouldn't mess with.
Yeah,
I don't see that in this guy Mackay at all. I don't see him being able to make the big decisions that possibly Peter Law's made. You know, now again, I know we harp on about it, make it a kind of standing joke on this show, but Peter Law's standing telling Brendan Rodgers he's not getting John McGinn, and he spends the same amount of money on the disco lights. You know, I would like to think that if a manager of Brendan Rodgers' stature goes in and asks for a player, then the club react the same way. I'm quite sure now, and I know again said it on this show about the possible amount of players Gerrard signed. Gerrard goes in and asks for a player, you know, they go and get that player.
Yeah,
you know,
I think as well. There's such
5 years ago, and someone says, "Oh, Jermaine Defoe beat Rangers," you're like, "Aye, good, Jim, that's a beauty."
I know.
Gerrard goes in, or Ross Wilson, they discuss and say, "I want Kemar Roof that played with Leeds or whoever. I want this fella. I want that fella. I want this fella." And Rangers went, right, okay. The
board held the power a little bit though, because of things we've discussed previously about how poor Rangers were and how good Celtic were, to be fair, under Rodgers. They were excellent. And I think the board held the power to say that. I think if Brendan Rodgers was there now when he went in and said, go and get John McGinn, you know, the balance of power switched where, you know, it's kind of in the manager's court. They need a manager. If Eddie Howe comes in and says, no, that's not happening, at some point they're going to need to give in to somebody. And I don't think that whenever it was 4 or 5 years ago, that I think the board were in a position to turn and say, nah, we don't want to spend £4 million, so we don't need it.
I agree.
I read a thing.
Are the board showing their power just now? I mean, again, we're only speculating, but are the board showing their power just now by saying, you're not having your assistant, you're getting John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan, mate?
I don't know.
Why says, well, I would like to sign Rory Loy and you get Mark Wilson instead. We go, well, wait a minute here.
That's the argument.
You know what I mean? I played well at the fives last week, I'll tell you. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's where I think you're right about the balance of power. But if Eddie Howe's gone in there and told your coaching team and told who you're signing, then no worries. No, I would just tell them to get to.
I agree with that. Last question before we move up. 600 fans at the Scottish Cup final, Wilson. We're now getting told there's going to be no fans at all. Obviously, this is powers beyond Andy's control. It's just been a bit of a mess, isn't it?
Is there no fans at all?
No fans at all. Obviously, Glasgow's staying in Tier 3 for the time being due to the variant, as we know. But it's obviously a situation that nobody can control. But the way they were talking, we were thinking 10% of the crowd were coming in here. And
see the 600 tickets. Obviously, they would begin. The tickets would be getting dished out to Hibs and St George's fans. So who was getting another 400?
All the corporates with their 3-course meals.
Aye. But we're going to have no fans on the 29th of May, and we're going to have 12,000. I think it's 17,000 fans in the 15th of June for the Czech Republic game.
Yeah,
it's a strange one.
Yeah. I don't get that at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't get the 600 fans either, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
The socially distanced.
A record-breaking attendance for St Johnstone, Mark.
That would be a sellout. They'd be giving tickets away in the primary schools up there. But I found it bizarre. And if it's 600 tickets, then I would be giving that to the guys at the club and their families and the players and their families and all that.
Exactly.
I said this. It was not long after the kind of the football opened back up. I'm sure there was somebody. I don't know if it was a European game or a league game, and it was somebody I think scored a hat trick at Old Trafford, not for Man United, it was against Man United. And I'm thinking, there's that boy there scored a hat trick at Old Trafford, and you know none of his family or friends are there to see that live as such. And I think that's a shame for guys playing in a cup final. That none of even your wife possibly can't even go.
Were your friends and family watching to the sides when you're playing fives the other week, cheering you on?
Well, to be fair,
His friend, family.
There was also a few scouts, let me tell you, for the over 35s. But Graham Dempsey, if you're watching, I've got your message, so don't panic. So I do find that a wee bit unfortunate, but I agree with you, Pikey. I mean, from going from 1,200 to 12,000 in 6 days, what's going to change in 6 days?
I know this isn't for the show, right? But there's only one reason why Glasgow's staying in level 3 is because Rangers are lifting the league this weekend, and there's an expected turnout in places over the city. So I think that's one of the reasons.
I know you can be flippant in saying that, but I genuinely don't think that's the case. There was a number of primary schools in that shirt.
That Indian variant.
You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, and as I know you all wind me up and slag me off, but I do believe that Rangers fans, you know, want to celebrate, etc., etc. But again, and it was highlighted on social media, you had the incident yesterday with the police and all that, and 5,000 folk standing in the street, and that's perfectly acceptable. There was I think there was a demonstration in George Square about something else political. That's acceptable, but you can't have guys celebrating that their teams won the league. Now, again, any set of fans should be able to celebrate. You know, we've came down a lot from the COVID pandemic. I know things are still a worry, etc., but I don't think tomorrow you would stop any set of fans. Now, even remember going back, just so Pikey doesn't shoot me, remember back to the trouble at Celtic Park? That was right in the middle of that was at level 4.
Yeah.
And, you know, folk were chucking fences and all that, and it was freezing that night, I'll tell you that, freezing. Folk were throwing fences and kicking off, and it was wrong then.
You get some deal at that guardrail, didn't you?
Absolutely, the shark. It's worrying tomorrow, but to a certain extent, I can understand it. I just hope other people let the celebrations go ahead, so it is a celebration and not an excuse just to go out and cause bother. And now, again, even if you know things were in some sort of normality in society and there was a celebration tomorrow, the last thing I would be doing would be saying, "Oh, let's go to Glasgow shopping." You know, just if people want to celebrate, just let that crowd of supporters celebrate. Let them behave, let them go home. The problems only arise when other people turn up, you know, and try to cause that and give it a bit of negative publicity.
Hopefully it's a bit better, because when you never know when the league's actually going to be won. So when it was won on that weekend, I thought Celtic would go to Tannadice and win. So when that doesn't happen, there's that element of, you know, kind of reacting to your emotions, whereas everyone knows Trophy Day's been coming for a while. So hopefully the more sensible ones among the fans who maybe got caught up the last time will be able to take a little bit more of a balanced view and just celebrate it in their houses or whatever's more sensible.
But again, I know there's rules and restrictions, etc. But surely they could have done some sort of balloting system and put does Ibrox hold 50,000? Surely been able to let 25,000 in there, and then 25,000 go to George Square where a bus goes, an open top bus, something to try and make it as safe as possible for people, because they are going to celebrate, and as Rory says, it's better for it to be controlled.
Yeah,
rather than, like,
I don't think it's going to be controllable tomorrow. Like,
see, just a cut on, Pikey. Are you still alright to get me about 11 o'clock tomorrow night?
at George Square.
What are we doing for the horse? I've been tapping the horse.
Brilliant, Bill.
I'll have an MS10 hat on tomorrow. Take the phone off, MS10.
Brilliant. We're going to wrap the show up there. I just want to thank Wilson, Rory and Shankers for joining me in the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Blockbuster this week.
Brilliant. But we're going to be back on Monday morning. We're going to have a special guest. We're going to announce, we're going to record that show on Sunday night. So tune in for that. It's going to be another exciting show. But thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you soon. Cheers.